I sit alert and look at myself. Looking at myself, meaning looking at the body, be aware of the body, or of the mind, in order to understand the movement of the body or the mind, or both. Is meditation. Meditation is not some exotic movement of mind. To meditate means to pay attention to the body in order to understand the body, its comforts and discomforts. To pay attention to the mind in order to understand its movement. This is meditation. Obviously, in meditation, I am with myself. And it can be anywhere, anytime. As I look at myself, I ask a question. Can I be with myself without going out of myself? Which can be said without outgoing. Suppose I do not go out of myself, then I am with myself. Can I be with myself without any pressure to go out, to do something or the other? Even now, as you sit, look at your hands. Are they poised to do something or the other? Quite possible. Tell yourself, there is nothing to do. Things get done. Things happen. Allow the hands to relax. Keep the hands and shoulders loose and relaxed. Which means you are not poised to do something or the other. Which means I am with myself. Ask the question, do I have this pressure, inner pressure, to get out of myself and do whatever? Such pressure implies lack of freedom, that inner freedom. How long can I be entirely with myself? Without any attempt to move away from myself. This question is the door to that inner freedom. I notice there is some pressure, less or more, to do something. Mind suddenly remembers something to be done, and so I go and do something. That something means I'm not able to be with myself. Is this happening in life or not? The answer is mostly yes. I meditate, meaning I pay attention to this inner movement and notice that inner pressure to escape from myself, to go away from myself. How ridiculous it is that I don't want to stay with myself. Is myself so unbearable even to myself? This attention to that inner movement this attention to that inner pressure opens the door to understand myself better. This understanding is self-knowledge. As I pay attention to that inner pressure, to move away from myself, as I see it, as I see the pressure, less or more, without denying, without denial, without justification. Mind is very tricky. It has every justification for all kinds of escape from myself. When I pay attention to this inner pressure to escape from myself, without denial, and without justification of that pressure, that witnessing, that watching of that inner pressure, dilutes and eliminates that pressure with some patience. And paves the way for that inner freedom. The freedom is, I can stay with myself. I don't need to escape from myself. And when there is a genuine need to go out, I can do that also. Staying with myself naturally is called ātmanaḥ, abidance in oneself. Such ātmanaḥ can be a panacea for all ills of life. And the most beautiful thing is, you are the guide unto yourself. Sit relaxed and open the eyes slowly. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Mame Bhagavatpada Shankaram Ātmano vikriyā nāsti buddherbodho na jātvapi jīvaḥ sarvamalaṃ jñātvā. That is how it is printed, right? I have a printing mistake here. So it is sa underneath sa. Jīvaḥ sarva. Okay? If you break it, it becomes jīvaḥ sarva. jñātā draṣṭeti muhyati. You see, there are a few things that you have to understand about yourself. Quite often, people are not ready for that. For two reasons. One, they have more busy things to be done in the world. If I understand myself, what will I get? If I work outside, I will get $50 per hour. If I understand myself, what will I get? Zero. Whatever dollars are there, they also will go away. Suppose you sit in Starbucks and understand yourself for an hour, you will lose $15. He will take away $15 and you get nothing out of it. Whereas you work in Starbucks, suppose, an hour, you will get $30. Therefore, people are not so much keen to understand themselves or whatever. They have better things to do in the world. That means the worldliness, the pursuit of artha kama, becomes a huge obstacle in self-knowledge. Understanding oneself, that is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is not some exotic thing like you have been on to the Everest top and you feel something. It is not like that. Self-knowledge is knowledge of oneself. What you are, you understand. You are what you are, timelessly. Only you have to understand yourself. That is the point. And understanding is always a religious act. People believe that you put an idol there and bring flowers and worship. That is a religious act. People also believe that you take a mantra and chant it. That is a religious act. But often they believe that they need not know what the mantra is. It is enough to chant. That is how they believe. That is how the religion functions. Because the mantras are in archaic language which people don't understand. Quite often the gurus also don't understand. The priests, of course, mostly they don't understand. Even the gurus don't understand the mantras because they are not proficient in the language of the mantras. And sometimes the mantras have no meaning also. They are called meaningless mantras. Like Aim, Kleem, Sau, what is the meaning? There is no meaning. They are admittedly without meaning. Okay? Therefore, chant of a mantra is considered a religious act. But suppose you know something about yourself, that is not considered a religious act. Very sad. That means your worldliness and your religiosity becomes an obstacle to know yourself. Did you notice that? So you have to overcome these two obstacles first. And then develop that love for self-knowledge. It is called jñātā. And once you have that jñātā in you, quite often people don't have it. Once you have that jñātā in you, a new life dawns. And there is a lot to understand yourself. Because the breadth or the width and the depth of yourself, you cannot even imagine. The width and breadth of yourself is such that your self includes all existence in the universe. And your depth is such that you are the very divinity that you are worshipping outside. That is the width and depth of yourself. There is so much to understand about yourself, so much. You will not be disappointed. When you start understanding yourself, it is a pleasant surprise every day, every hour and every moment. That is what the self is. And therefore, you will not be disappointed once you start paying attention to yourself. Let us begin with one thing. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. That is the statement. You are the one without any modification. Can you believe it? You look around, you say, I own this, I possess that. Like that you will be holding on to, attaching yourself to a variety of things of the world. And they ever change. And as they change, you change. Look at that. In the pet hospital, there is a room. Once I visited a hospital because my friend, a student of mine, not a mine student of Vedanta, he is a veterinary doctor who started a pet hospital in Toronto. And so he invited me. While coming from the class, it is on the way. So I went and visited. So all kinds of pets he treats. And mostly dogs and cats, mostly. There are a few others also, birds, snakes, etc. are also there. But primarily dogs and cats. And so he knows, I asked him, do you know the entire anatomy of the cat? He said, yes. he studied of the dog also, yes. That is the anatomy he knows. Okay. And then he has shown me the ICU also for the cats and dogs. And then there are mishaps also, means the cat or dog, it just vanishes. I mean, it dies. And the humans die, what to speak of cats and dogs. They have a small lifespan, not like human beings. So they die. When they die, the owners are devastated. And therefore, there is a room for emotional stabilization. And they have one of his a counselor also is there. In the staff of the hospital, there is a counselor. And when I went to see that room, the counselor is consoling one couple who lost very sadly a cat. Okay. So why I said all this? Because when you identify with the physical things and also people and animals outside, anything that happens to them changes vikriyā. They always undergo changes. Everything changes. Nothing is permanent. You want everything to remain permanent. This is called conservatism. So you want to conserve. Laws of conservation. So law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of angular momentum. They are there, you know. Similarly, law of conservation of my cat. It doesn't exist. Law of conservation of my bank account. It doesn't exist. Law of conservation of the party in power, because I like that party. We don't know. These laws do not exist because the things, they are constantly changing. The world is in a flux. It is constantly changing. And therefore, when there is vikara, outside things to which you are attached, there is a corresponding vikara, means a disturbance in you. That is how people feel. They feel so only because of ignorance. What is this ignorance? It is not some ignorance, some general ignorance. No. It is ignorance of yourself. Very close to you. The ignorance is not some general ignorance out there. It is very close to you. You are ignorant of yourself. So what is that? I am ignorant that I am changeless. Come what may. Anything may happen to anything in the outside world. I am timelessly changeless. That is the truth. If you know this truth, then things happen. They happen as they must. And you remain quiet, calm, unperturbed. The negative part of it. Remaining yourself is always there. But this disturbance that is imposed, self-imposed disturbance or perturbance, which sometimes becomes a devastation, sometimes becomes a psychological downfall, leading to all kinds of body illnesses. All of that is rooted in ignorance of yourself. If only you know that come what may, happen what may, what I am. The I am, the true I am, doesn't undergo any change. No, when something happens outside, my mind is very agitated and I am very unhappy, very agitated, the mind. And this is called an emotion. Emotion always has a physical impact. When you are emotional, the eyes start, water wells up from the eyes, the heartbeat goes up, and the blood heartbeat goes up, and adrenaline gets into the bloodstream from those glands, adrenaline, epinephrine, whatever. And they produce some effects in the nervous system. And then, so all these physical impact, the body starts shaking, there is a shake in the body. And when an emotion, invariably it has an impact upon the body. You see, like a molecule affects a thought, similarly a thought can affect molecule. Body is molecules, mind is thoughts. They are interrelated, you know. So a particular thought affects the molecule. So, for example, a particular flow of thoughts activates a few glands, endocrinological system. And so the entire physiology undergoes phenomenal change based on a certain thought, like anger, etc. When there is anger, suddenly in the blood there is more glucose. If the person is angry and if you can pull out a little blood and check, it will be higher glucose. He need not be diabetic, but he becomes temporarily diabetic when he is angry. That much impact will be there for the emotions. So, therefore, when there is something outside, you feel that you are badly impacted. You do not feel yourself changeless. That is the ignorance. Means you have not understood yourself at all. You look within and check whether things that are happening, a particular thing that happened outside, did it impact you? You raise that question and look within and check for yourself, in yourself. You will realize that you are not disturbed. Maybe the mind is disturbed, but not you. Already you have created a space. Did you follow that? And that space is not there. So much so, when the mind is disturbed, you are disturbed. When the body is uncomfortable, you are uncomfortable. When the mind is unhappy, I am unhappy. That means there is no space. Why there is no that inner space? Why there is no space is not physical, understanding-based space. Why there is no space? Because there is no understanding. That's why the understanding is always associated with the space. Chidakasha. Chit is knowledge, akasha. Chitta thought, akasha. Physical akasha, outside. Body is in outside akasha. Bhutakasha, chittakasha, chidakasha. You are the chit. And once you are in that space, no disturbance can touch that space. The disturbance may be there in the mind, it may be there in the body, it may be there in the surroundings, but there is no disturbance whatsoever in myself. Is that not a wonderful, wonderful reality of yourself? Should you not be aware of that? Suppose you are aware of that. What happens? You become free. That is what happens. So you get freedom. Now there is no freedom. Now anything happens in the outside, you are disturbed. Anything happens to the body, you are disturbed. Anything happens to the mind, you are disturbed. But suppose you gain that space. I have a question which came to me by email and I am answering as part of the class. Suppose some extra growth is there in the body, in some limb, and then generally they check the biopsy. They take a small, tiny, scrape a small tissue of that and put it under microscope and check. When they check, they can see the quality of the cell. The cells, they are independent things they are. They are connected to each other, forming the tissue, but they are by themselves also under a microscope. Because there is a cell wall. It is like you put a compound wall around your house. Body has a skin as the outer wall. Similarly, the cell is similar to that. And the cell has many components in it. It has a structure. And so, the pathologist, that is called the subject of pathology, so he looks at that cell, or collection of cells. A few of them he looks at. And then he can tell whether the cell is normal, means healthy, or abnormal. He can tell that. And so, suppose he says the cells are abnormal, he will write it. Neoplastic or malignant, something he writes. And he describes it also. What we know is two English words, but it is a big science. And he will tell what kind of abnormality. He will put it in the language of medicine. And a physician can only understand that language. You and I cannot understand it. But we get only an idea that things are not normal. Or things are normal. Things are normal. Suppose you are related. Means you are identified with the body. Suppose things are not normal. Then you are devastated, suppose. That proves that you are identified with the body. On the other hand, before anything of that kind happens, before the results come and all that, suppose you develop this wisdom about yourself. It is all about yourself only. It is not about the worldly things or other things. About yourself. May whatever happen in the outside, I am not disturbed. Because I am what I am. Things happen. May whatever happen in the body, I am not disturbed. Because I am not the body. So I am aware of course, body remaining healthy is good, important and good. But body becoming sick also is normal. It is not abnormal. That is part of the life. That is the dynamic in which the things of the world and the body and mind function. That is how they are made. Suppose you take a fruit and put it and come back after 3 days, what will happen to the fruit? It will crumble. It will become dry and crumble. It gets spoiled. That is how the body is. It is a fruit only. Karma phala it is. The fruit. And so what will happen? And the child is very beautiful and very enjoyable and very vital, lively. That is what the child is. That is how a flower is when you pluck it. But by evening, what will happen to the flower? It withers away. Similarly, the life has an evening too. Don't think that there is no evening for the life. There is an evening for the life also. And therefore, for the body also, the body starts withering. And your body is in good health, good. It doesn't become a nuisance. I need not waste energy in the upkeep of the body. But suppose body starts withering, you have to expect it. It is the natural thing happening naturally, nothing abnormal about it. And I understand it. I'm aware of it. I'm not the body. I'm aware of the changes that are happening in the body. And when I am aware, I accept it also. Suppose there is rain, I accept. There is sun, I accept. Having accepted some changes have to be made, I make also. That they also happen. When it is raining, I put on the umbrella. I open the umbrella. When it is not raining, I keep the umbrella inside the car. These are very natural things. Medicine is also very similar. So, therefore, suppose the person finds the pathology report, lab report, indicating some kind of neoplasticity. That means the physician will not tell you, there is some malignancy and keep quiet. He won't do that. He will tell you there is some malignancy, and then he will tell what to do, all that also. And you will be doing that. The natural thing happens naturally, and therefore the first thing that you should do about anything in the body is that it is the body which is changeable, not you. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. There is a change in the body. The change may entail comfort or discomfort. Sometimes the change in the body makes a lot of comfort. The body, suppose you take medicine, the pain has gone, you feel a lot of comfort. Sometimes the change entails discomfort. So both will be there in the body. Body has its comforts and discomforts. And suppose some malignancy is there in some part of the body, that is part of the dynamic of the body, and I am aware of it. What is the meaning of I am aware of it? I watch it. I witness it. I do not identify with it. What that all that mean? It means I am okay with it. Another word for that is I accept it. Suppose it happened to me, how can I accept? How can I accept? The outer person can advise you accept it, but you cannot accept it. There is a proverb in Telugu. So a doctor, you used to surgically operate upon this abscess, He used to surgically, in those days, there used to be a lot of bacterial infections. So staphylococcus infections in India, due to lack of cleaning and all that. Here also, lot of infections. And when there is that infection in the body, so the bacteria forms a colony and it appears on the body somewhere as an abscess, as a growth. And there you get pus also. It will have one small needle-like cone also it will have, top of the cone. And inside there will be pus, and it is very painful. You know that? And the doctor, what he does, he just cuts it with a sharp knife. In a fraction of a second, he puts a cut. And all the pus, which are the white blood cells, killed. And some of the red blood cells killed also. And with some blood also, it just drained out. And all the pain is gone. So the doctor, he used to do those cuts. In the village, whosoever comes, he has to cut the abscess, right? And the person says, "Oh," like that he says, and then bandage it and send. The doctor got down. He himself got it. Okay? Then his compounder also can do it, or another doctor. Then the doctor, he got it done. Then he says, "I have cut so many abscesses, but no single abscess was as painful as this abscess." Did you get it? Therefore, so when something happens to this body, that is the point. We see many things happening to many bodies around. That is all okay. We sympathize, we express sympathy, we help. All those things we do, that is fine. Lovingly we do, fine, great. But something happens to this body, wo alag baat hai, it's a different thing altogether. Therefore, you should have the self-knowledge that alone can save the day. There is no other alternative. Insurance policy, etc. cannot help you. Where it really matters, only self-knowledge can help. What is that self-knowledge? Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. What is the self-knowledge? How does it help? It helps you by making you a witness to all the changes that are happening, even in the body. Begin with outer things, and then begin with the body, come to the body. Whatever changes happen in the body, they happen in the body. Because the body is susceptible to all kinds of changes. That is how the body is. And I am aware of that. I am a witness to that. Which means I accept it. Even while doing the needful will be suggested by the medical faculty. They will tell us what to do, and we do that. We do that correctly. But I accept it. People around may not accept, but I accept. And I live whatever life is there. Everybody has to, life comes to an end. Earlier the better, really speaking. And whatever life is there, I will have the quality of life. I can live with peace, with joy, with happiness. Because that is my swarupa, and that never changes. I am what I am. That never changes. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Do you see the freedom involved in that? I always remember one person, he's a Jew living in New Jersey. He came to me along with his wife. He was diagnosed with some malignancy somewhere in the blood, leukemia, which is deadly. And they give some time also. He has been given 6 months time. And he came to me and discussed. Then at that time, I wrote an essay on death. Later it was incorporated into a book also. And that was on my computer, not yet fully edited, kind of a rough essay. I said, I will give it to you. It is a bit rough, not entirely. It doesn't matter, you give it to me. I gave it to him. Printed and gave. And he took it with him, he read it. He and his wife went home. He lived 6 months happily. And his wife could not take it. She was complaining, unhappy all the 6 months, while he is happy. And she was even more unhappy, even more devastated after his death. Last time I knew, she was very unhappy. And when I asked, how was your husband? He was happy. So that is the difference. It is like two people are looking at the same fruit, hidden in the foliage of a tree branch. One is able to see it, the other person is not able to see it. What could be the reason? The reason is simple. One has the proper attention, proper focus of eyesight. Therefore he sees. The other is looking at it all right, but he doesn't have the right attention, right focus. Therefore he fails to see it. But suppose he gets the right focus, he too will see it. So, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. So take this as a challenge. With reference to outer things, it should not be difficult. We are all human beings. When something happens in the outer, we do get perturbed, but it will be in control and we are not devastated. The life moves on, we move along. That itself is a freedom. That itself is a freedom. Not a simple thing. Suppose something happens to the body, you are able to take it along. You go along with it. Things happen in the body, kya badi baat hai. some medicine we take, and one day it falls anyway. It is all right. I knew a person who was sick, kind of schizophrenic, that kind of sickness. I don't understand yet what is going on, how it happened. I want to consult the physician, the psychiatrist also further. What I noticed is the person stopped eating properly. The person started losing weight. And people around, means the near and dear, and the nurse, etc., who help the person, and the physician, the psychiatrist, and other doctors, they all try to encourage, eat a little more, like that. Okay, don't eat this, you want that, and I will eat that. Okay, get it and give it. So they have tried, they have done their best. But gradually, not suddenly, the person was eating less, and then further less, and further less, less and less and less. A stage came when the person, to begin with 120 kgs, which is quite a big heavy weight for a woman, and she came to 40 kg. And now the person cannot eat by herself, and so they have to put through spoon. And even that eating less and less, and finally she died. Means, for me, it looked as if I was observing the whole process of what went on almost on a daily basis. I was aware of it, and I felt that the person did not die of any particular illness, but the person died of starvation. That is how I felt, and nobody could do anything about it. And I noticed the person did not complain one time, did not express any suffering. We don't know what is going on. All of that is psychiatric issue, or what is that? I don't know. I want to look at it. So it is very much possible to accept the movement of life. It is possible. So there is a freedom in it. Otherwise, whatever happens in the outside, you are perturbed. Whatever happens to the body, you start crying bitterly. So that there is no freedom in that. And how could you get that freedom? Not by making some more money or by enjoying some more pleasures. What pleasures? The pleasures, the pleasure people also started giving up the pleasures. They also don't find any value in the pleasures. That is what I noticed. So they are also moving away from the pleasures, because the pleasures are not at all fulfilling anymore. Even the people given to pleasures becoming wiser, they become wiser and move away. And then wealth, what will you do with the wealth? How much land a person needs? Leo Tolstoy story, 6.5 feet or 6 feet. Therefore, the outer things, with a little vairagya, you will be able to overcome their effect upon you and realize that you are changeless in spite of whatever may happen in the outer. You are changeless. That is vairagya. Then come to viveka, starts with body. So whatever may happen in the body, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. I remain changeless. I am the changeless. And I am ever the immutable. No mutation ever happens in myself. I am the immutable. Body dies, I am immortal. Death is the change, Death is the change. That change happens in the body, not in myself. That you understand. And that gives, now I have two kinds of freedom. One, things happen in the outside, but I am not perturbed. That is freedom. Things happen in the body, I remain more or less. You say more or less, okay? Because we are all humans after all. Therefore, give scope for some disturbance, but more or less you are okay. That is freedom. And then mind. More difficult it is. Things happen in the mind. In body, things happen occasionally. After 1 week or after 1 month or after 1 year, something may happen. Whereas in the mind, on an hourly basis, things happen in the mind. And whatever may happen in the mind, I am immutable. Many things, many changes happen in the mind. I am immutable. Nothing ever happens to me. Can you discover that? What is the discovery? Nothing ever happens to me. Things happen. Nothing ever happens to myself. Things happen. Not that things do not happen. Therefore nothing happens. No. Things happen. In the outer, in the body and in the mind. Things happen. But nothing ever happens to me. Can you say that to yourself? Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Gita says, you see, Sardar Bhagat Singh was convicted of treason or whatever, and then he was given capital punishment. They were by hanging to death in British Raj. He was taken to the gallows. And you know what he was saying something. He was chanting something, a bit loudly, a bit. And that was Chedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshya evaja. So that is the verse. That verse, there is another in the second chapter of Gita. Nainam chindanti shastrani. That is what he was saying. Nainam chindanti shastrani. The British inspector who was overseeing the punishment, the execution, he asked, what is it that he is saying? It's a Sanskrit verse, somebody told. What is that verse? He is saying, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Nachainam kledayantyāpaha, Na shoshayati marutaha. That is the Gita second verse. I often say, people read Gita without reading Gita. They are acharyas of Gita, but they don't pay attention to this verse. It is enough to pay attention to this particular verse, which Bhagat Singh has done. And Bhagat Singh, he went to the gallows with a smile on his face. There was no sorrow in him. There is sorrow in the entire nation, but not in him. Because he understood the Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. This Atma cannot be cut asunder by any weapon. Nainam dahati pavakaha. Atma cannot be burnt by any fire. Nachainam kledayantyāpaha. The Atma cannot be made wet by waters. And na shoshayati marutaha. The Atma cannot be made dry by wind, hot wind or whatever. You know, people have superstition. Somebody told a person, Jalagandam. This is coming from South India. This is there in Telugu people. Must be there in Tamil Nadu and other places also. Or might have come from Tamil Nadu even. We don't know. Jalagandam. That is what he says. Jalagandam. Are bhai, your horoscope says that you have Jalagandam. You know what is Jalaganda? Means you will die in water. This person, he will not go near a river, he will not go near a canal. And he wants to cheat death that way. And the person who told him that you are going to die with water, he has done a great injustice to him. Otherwise he would have gone to the canal and taken bath, taken sacred bath in Ganga. He won't do any of that. He is afraid of water. Because Gandam is death. Gandam is possibility of death, not really death. You are likely to die because of water. That is the meaning of Jalagandam. What kind of a superstition it is? What Gita says. And we are all supposed to be Hindus. And for us, Gita is very sacred. What sacred it is? Therefore, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Therefore, there is no death for Atma. Atma is immortal. And then finally, so mind. Mind has its pleasures and pains. Mind is like that. With body, mind is with body. You eat, you are hungry. When you are hungry, the body is in some kind of a disadvantage, discomfort. Even the mind is at a discomfort. You are not happy. When you are hungry, somebody comes and asks a Vedanta question. You feel like giving a hit on the head. Hey, go. Waiting for food and hungry, and now you want Vedanta? Like that. Means even the mind is affected by the body. Therefore, mind and body together, though we separate them for purpose of understanding, mind has its pleasures and pains, just like body has its comforts and discomforts. And when the mind is pleasurable, I am not particularly pleasurable. It is not myself, it is the mind. Mind has a reason to feel pleasurable, which is fine. Mind has a reason to feel sad, that is also fine. You see, sorrow is different from sadness. When you do not accept sorrow and start suffering, that is sorrow. But suppose you accept sorrow and there is no suffering, that is sadness. And when you are sad, you become a poet also. Poetry comes out of sadness. Shokas lokatvam. Valmiki Maharshi was sad. Why he was sad? Not that his brother-in-law, something happened to his brother-in-law or any such thing. He was sad that a bird was slain. Bird was hit and it died. And the other bird was crying. The birds also have a sense of loss and all that for a short period. And therefore he saw that event. He is not angry with the hunter also, because for the hunter it is the life for him. He kills the bird and cooks it and eats it. So he is not angry with the hunter also. Just he is sorrowful at that event. And then he is not sorrowful even. He is ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Therefore he is okay with all that. And then that sorrow, now it undergoes a transformation. It feels like sadness. He was a bit sad. When the bird, it is like the sun rising, a very beautiful sight. You become cheerful like that. In this case, it was the opposite. He became sad. And that sadness became poetry. And that is how Ramayana was created. And that's why in Ramayana, the primary sentiment is sadness, unhappiness, pathos, pathos. That is the primary sentiment, rasa. Therefore, even Shakespeare's King Lear you take, or Othello you take, or Macbeth, some of these plays, they come from that sadness which he must have felt. Otherwise, he will not be able to write it like that. That feeling of sadness happens. Therefore, when you know yourself correctly, ātmano vikriyā nāsti, when you know yourself correctly, and then the mind becomes sorrowful. There is a mutation in that sorrow. And the sorrow becomes sadness. And the sadness will be there for a while and then it will be gone. And if you have that training and that scholarship, etc., if you have the skill, language skill and all that, that ability to imagine, the thinking, all that ability you have, that means there is some kind of a poetry in you, then the sadness, it gives birth to beautiful poetry. Therefore, sadness is not bad. Sorrow is bad. The sorrow leads to depression. Sorrow is optional. Sorrow is not, pain is inevitable sometimes, physical pain, but sorrow is optional. You need not be sorrowful, because sorrow happens in the mind, not in you. Unless you take the sorrow of the mind upon yourself, you need not be sorrowful. It is optional. You can remain a witness to the mind. Mind undergoes changes all the time. I am without change. Therefore, you can do that. And it is a bit more difficult than body. So, body identification is easier to overcome, whereas identification with the mind is all the more difficult. In the sense that mind is so close to the Atma. It is mind and it is Atma, flip and flop. Therefore, you have to remain a witness to the mind also. That's why ātmanaḥ, what I was saying in the meditation, abiding in yourself, not being goaded by the mind. Mind always wants to do something or the other, and you become a victim of the mind. Without that, you abide in yourself. And gradually, not gradually, with patience, you know that you are immortal. Mortality with reference to the body, you are immortal. With reference to mind, you are immutable. You are not changeful. You remain mutationless, immutable. That you understand. Then the ups and downs of the mind, the vicissitudes of the mind won't affect you that much. But it begins with the pleasure also. When mind is pleasurable, you remain quiet. That is where it begins. Suppose mind has a reason to be pleasurable and you start jumping around, that means you have not understood anything. It goes together. Not only you remain quiet when there is sorrow in the mind, but also you are quiet when there is pleasure in the mind. They go together. You cannot have it your way. Like having the cake and eat it too, that doesn't work. Means when mind is pleasurable, I want to be pleasurable. But when mind is painful, I don't want to be painful. That doesn't work. So either you are caught in the cycle of pleasure and pain, or you rise above both. You can, by being a witness to the mind. And that how to do that? Just be with yourself. Be yourself with yourself. In yourself, if you wish. By yourself. That is the ātmanaḥ. By doing that, as we have seen in the meditation, you will realize that you are the immutable. Ātmano, vikriyā, nāsti. Therefore, that question about the body, sickness, etc., that question which came to me about a health issue, some tissue being examined under a microscope by a pathologist, and then the report, what report will come, that kind of a thing. If only you abide in yourself and you know yourself correctly, what all I described in the last 1 hour, you will be able to overcome it. But let the natural thing happen naturally. Whatever the physician advises, you follow that. Sometimes the physicians give a choice. They give a choice also. I am taking the extreme example to make the point. I knew one gentleman, elderly, 78 or 80, and then some tissue, some problem in the body. And so go to the physician. They look at it and they want to do some biopsy. And so they do that. Biopsy while living, autopsy after the person is gone. That is how it works. Bio is living, you know. So they take a tissue and they declared, so you have cancer. Now cancer, the malignancy itself is of 4 first degree, second degree, third and fourth. First and second you can reverse it, at least for some time. Third is touch and go. Fourth is you cannot reverse it. They told him fourth, you cannot reverse it. Then he said goodbye and he walked out of the hospital. His people started running after him. Why are you going away? I don't want hospital anymore. He went home. And he was coming to my classes, and then he sent a message to me, I am unable to meet you and I want to meet you. Then I told, every Wednesday I will come for lunch to your home and I will take lunch with you every Wednesday. That was the arrangement. So every Wednesday I used to go and they serve lunch for both of us on the table. We eat nicely. And then, so gradually a time came when he cannot eat anymore, but I used to go Wednesday. But one Tuesday he died. This went on for 6 months. And he lived reasonably well. The body declines, but he remained at peace. This kind of choice they make. They make this choice. In India, certainly, the doctors give this choice. It is up to you. You want, what do you want? You want to undergo treatment? If he says, no, I don't want any treatment, then they don't force it. In this country, they force. You cannot refuse treatment. No, it is not like that. In Florida, a person was trying to die, but the government doesn't allow him to die. The different states have different laws. In Colorado, you cannot refuse treatment. In Florida, you cannot die. Euthanasia is not allowed. This is what I read from New York Times. Okay, laws must have changed. In Canada, one can die. Nobody stops. Nobody stops. In India, we do not follow any law. Therefore, we don't even know what is the law and all. Therefore, there are the physicians give choice. Now, what do you want to do? So, they have that freedom. So sometimes it feels. My father, he was ill, and so I advised, why not take to the hospital? He said, no hospital. If some medicine you bring and I have to gulp the tablet, I will do it. I am not coming to the hospital. No. In the village. So he remained in the village and died within a week or two. They make such choice. Therefore, being helpless and suffering and helplessness, the distinction between the two, you become helpless and therefore highly depressed and totally without cheer. That is one side. Or there is a problem, physical problem, discomfort is there, but you take it gracefully and you allow things to happen with a lot of graciousness. The distinction between the two is entirely dependent upon what we call self-knowledge, your understanding of yourself. In any case, you are not going to die. You will only be a witness to the death of the body. You are not going to die. Nobody is going to die. You will remain a witness even at the time of death. So instead of entering into that state without knowing anything about yourself, better to know oneself. So anyway, I tried to make a big deal of it. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. That is the Mahavakya-like thing it is. It can be written in silver, in golden letters. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. It is up to you to know it now, or know it after 1 month, or know it after 10 years, or know it after 10 births. It is up to you. But the truth is, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. You see, you are the Atma, which is immutable, and which is changeless. That is immutable and immortal. Death is not there. Also, you have a value for God. People want to worship God. Even those who deny God worship something else as God. Like in communism, in USSR, they should not worship God. But they go and worship at the mausoleum of Lenin. That is God only. That is God only. So, everybody worships God. And when ātmano vikriyā nāsti, suppose you understand that, is not your Atma God? That is Tattvamasi. So there is no difficulty in understanding Tattvamasi. You are that divine. You are the divine. That is the truth. That is the absolute truth. You are immortal, immutable, and you are divine. That is the absolute truth. And you have to take it as the absolute truth. You have to understand it. Then the pleasure and pain in the mind, both are divine. Not only pleasure is divine, the mind is also, the pain is also divine. then the comfort and discomfort in the body, both are divine. And then the changes happen that outside in the world, they are also divine. Everything happens by that higher power, by the will of that higher power. And that is the divinity, and you are that divinity. Therefore, remain in yourself, understand yourself as the changeless, and accept things that happen in the mind, in the body, and in the surroundings. So, in the course, someone asked me a question, what is going on in Ukraine and Russia? What is your reply? I told her, don't worry, nāyam hanti na hanyate. Ukrainian doesn't kill, Russian doesn't get killed. Russian doesn't kill, Ukrainian doesn't get killed. Okay? Nāyam hanti na hanyate. Nobody kills, nobody gets killed. So you don't ask that question. You now, I said, answered already, you think about it. That's all. I'm not going to spend time on that. Because it is such a flimsy thing, you should work it out now. Oh, so that person is dying, this person is dying. That is not a thing to be, that is not an important thing to be discussed in Vedanta. Here we discuss more important things. That is the way I tried to answer. Therefore, you are divine, and therefore, you are beyond all names and forms. Namarupa, you are beyond all of that. You have to know yourself. All changes are in the Namarupa only. And in Atma, none. Then intellect. Intellect is the scholarly people. They put all their emphasis on the scholarship. That is the intellect. IQ, intelligence quotient, they say IQ. So in this world, there must be some scale of IQ. IQ 130 is the best, something like that. IQ 30-40 is the very poor. Okay? So we all fit it somewhere in the middle. Okay? Now, what about that intellect which has IQ, etc.? So what is this intellect? Intellect knows. Intellect has knowledge. You are wrong. Intellect doesn't have knowledge. You tell me, the pen drive in which there are many files, does it have knowledge? It doesn't have, right? Pen drive doesn't have knowledge. What about the disk, that CD? It doesn't have knowledge. What about the computer hard drive? It has knowledge or not? It doesn't have. A robot? Because the other day we went for a cup of coffee and a robot served us. And it has served us and said enjoy it also. Okay? I was sitting at table number 2. The robot is going to table number 3, and that is my dish. It is going to table. I robbed. They took out that. The robot was dumbfounded. It doesn't know what to do now. It went to the table 3, and then it was flabbergasted. It doesn't know what to do. It did not do anything, I suppose. Therefore, there is no knowledge in the robot. Same thing, the intellect also. It doesn't have knowledge. Buddherbodhaḥ na jātvapi. Jātu means at any time. Api, and also buddhehe, to the intellect, bodhaḥ, knowingness, the power of knowing, the quality of knowing. It doesn't belong to the intellect. I give you one example and conclude that part. And we will continue this verse further. It's an important verse. I spent time on the first line because it is all important line in one's life. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. You remind yourself. You hold on to that simple statement. You need not keep the entire verse. That single statement, Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. That is enough. It is something like Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. You remind yourself. Similarly, Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Something happens, you feel let down, etc. People feel like that. They feel let down. Somebody did not oblige you, you feel let down. Why even the air hostess did not give you coffee quickly? She delays. You ask for a coffee, she doesn't appear. Yes, sir, she says and vanishes. Now where is she? God knows. Whether she will give it or not also you don't know. She might have forgotten also. And so you become disturbed. You tell yourself, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. You feel comfortable. Then she gives, whatever she gives, she gives. In some of the airlines, they are very hospitable. But there are certain airlines which are known for their total lack of hospitality. In either case, ātmano vikriyā nāsti. You remind yourself, you hold on to that statement as a mantra. That is the mantra. Generally, when they come out with mantras which have no meaning, there are mantras like that. So they say seed syllables. Seed doesn't have branches, doesn't have leaves, doesn't have flower, doesn't have fruit. These syllables are like that. They doesn't have any meaning, it doesn't fit into a sentence, it doesn't give any meaning to your mind. They are the seed syllables. What will you do with those seed syllables? So, anyway, therefore, so ātmano, you hold on. So instead of holding on to such a mantra, which doesn't have any meaning, which only has some seed syllables, so what will you do with that mantra? You hold on to this as a mantra, which inspires, which advises you. You be a guide to yourself. It is like you are holding on to a torchlight in darkness. And you put the torchlight on. Same thing you do to yourself. Be a guide unto yourself. You hold on to this statement. You be the preceptor and you be the student. So you say ātmano vikriyā nāsti, you are the preceptor, and you get its significance. You contemplate upon its enormous significance. You become the student, you are the preceptor, you are the student, and hold on to this mantra. It will never fail to serve you in moments of need. Ātmano vikriyā nāsti. Buddherbodho na jātvapi will continue. Om Purnamadaḥ Purnamidam Purnamādāya Purnamevāvashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om